This was the situation in 1892 when three young black men, Will Stewart, Calvin McDowell, and Thomas Moss, friends of Ida Wells, opened a grocery store in direct competition with a white-owned grocery across the street.
The white grocer didn't like it much, and so there was a bad blood between the white grocer and the black grocery store. He went to the city officials and tried to get them to, or the county officials tried to get them to close it down, and said that they were maintaining a nuisance. They were selling beer. And when the deputy sheriffs arrived, now they didn't have uniforms. They were in plain clothes. It's after dark. Now you see some white folks with guns coming after you. Why, blacks fired on them. You had gunfire, and a deputy was wounded. At that point, the truth must have come out, and so the blacks stopped firing, and the deputies went in and arrested all they could find in the grocery store. Then they went out and arrested everybody in the neighborhood they could find. And so they threw 20 to 30 people in jail.
Within hours, rumors of a black revolt spread throughout the county. A black militia was disarmed. The three grocers were dragged from their cells by a mob and murdered. The killers were never brought to justice.
Everybody in town knew and loved Tommy. An exemplary young man. He was married and the father of one little girl, Maureen, whose godmother I was. He and his wife, Betty, were the best friends I had in town. He owned his little home, and having saved his money, he went into the grocery business with the same ambition a young white man would have had. One of the morning papers held back its edition in order to supply its readers with the details of that lynching. It said that Thomas Moss begged for his life for the sake of his wife and his child and his unborn baby. That Calvin McDowell got hold of one of the guns of the lynchers, and because they couldn't loosen his grip, a shot was fired into his closed fist. There's a strong belief among us that the criminal court judge himself was one of the lynchers.
The black community of Memphis was stunned. Wells retaliated with her pen. She wrote an editorial.
The city of Memphis has demonstrated that neither character nor standing avails the Negro if he dares to protect himself against the white man or become his rival. The white mob could help itself to ammunition without pay, but the order was rigidly enforced against the selling of guns to Negroes.
This is something that touched her not just as a woman who was sensitive to the injustices were being imposed upon blacks, but there was a personal note in it all that I think forced her to ask the question, am I willing to stand up to whoever may oppose me in trying to, in fighting for racial justice?
Wells chose to fight. She also chose her weapons.
There's therefore only one thing left that we can do. Save our money and leave a town which will neither protect our lives and property nor give us a fair trial in the courts, but takes us out and murders us in cold blood when accused by white persons. Hundreds disposed of their property and left. Leading pastors took their whole congregations with them as they, too, went west.
She said, leave. You know, this is that black migration to the Middle West, the Kansas and Oklahoma migration. Go to Kansas, go to Oklahoma. And many blacks left. And I think that's another reason that the power structure was angry with her, because she understood the economic and political strategy. that they were using to intimidate blacks. And what she was saying is, you don't have to stay here and be intimidated. Leave.
And so the white businesses were in a panic that blacks had left. They were buying everything on the installment plan, and they just left everything. So the people were left. The restaurants were going out of business because all the black patronage was going. And you talk about the power of the pen and of her leadership to be the force behind thousands of black people. Leaving, and whatever Memphis represented to them was the only thing that they knew. It was where their roots were, where they were working, where their families were. And 6,000 people packed up their bags, went to the Oklahoma Territory. Of course, Ida Wells had gone there previously to sort of scout the place. To get black people to leave everything and go to a place that's unknown. They don't know anything that's out there. The weather is different, the circumstances are different. You know, the towns are, many of them yet to be established. And she did that when she was just a young woman.
Among those who remained in Memphis, Wells helped to organize a boycott aimed at the newly installed trolley system.
6 weeks after the lynching of Thomas Moss and his partners, the superintendent and treasurer of the City Railroad Company came into the office of the Free Speech and asked us to use our influence with the colored people to get them to ride on the streetcars again. When I asked why they came to us, the reply was that colored people had been their best patrons and that there had been a marked falling off of their patronage. I asked them what they thought was the cause. They said they didn't know. They had heard Negroes were afraid of electricity. When they left the office, I wrote this interview for the Free Speech and told the people to keep up the good work and to keep on staying off the cars.
She moved to a strategy of organizing. That is, she wanted to mobilize black people, women's groups in particular, but other kinds of black mobilization, which signaled that it wasn't only a matter of the mirror image. You don't just get people to see that they're wrong and then change. She saw that you had to get some organizational apparatus in place.